Hi all, it's Michelle from Cozy Egg, and today is Thursday, September 19th, 2024. This is episode 141. So, thank you for coming back if you are a returning viewer, and if you are new here, welcome. This is primarily a channel about cross stitch. But I also tend to talk a good bit about books and whatever else floats my boat. So there was a time when I also talked about knitting and quilting, but that doesn't seem to happen anymore. So here we are. Okay, so it has been a little over a month since I recorded, which is pretty much par for the course for me. It is almost the last day of summer, the first day of fall, the autumn equinox. We just had the harvest moon, the harvest full moon, which was also a super moon and a partial lunar eclipse on Tuesday, I think. So yeah, here we are. And I don't know, this, I can't explain. Well, I can't explain, but I put on bright red lipstick to distract from whatever tiredness, craziness, etc. is going on with me. Anyway, we'll see if that works. So, what have I been up to? Still adjusting to the new job, but you know, I'm hoping that that will get easier over time, but it is a lot of adjustment, and that's been primarily taking up most of my focus. So I did also finally go to see a neurologist about my migraines, which I have been suffering from for quite some time now, but they are getting worse. So finally bit the bullet and went to see a neurologist. So hopefully that will help. What else? I had my birthday at the end of August, and I did have a birthday start, which I will talk to you about here once we get into the stitching. And I was going to mention too, obviously at the front of my videos, you know, I put some vlog clips, and if you ever see something that you want more information on, sorry, I have a cat here that is getting into trouble, that you want more information on, or if there is a recipe that you'd like for something that you see, please don't hesitate to ask. I am more than happy to do that. I know that I owe a recipe to at least one person at the moment. So yeah, don't hesitate to ask. Sometimes the recipes are over on my Invoking Beauty blog, which is invokingbeauty.com. Sometimes they're not, so don't hesitate to ask. And what else? We just finished watching Shogun, which was excellent. If you have not seen it, it is so good. A good portion of it is subtitled, so it is not really something that you can watch and stitch at the same time, but it is so worth it. It's so good. I remember seeing the original miniseries back in the late 70s, the early 80s, somewhere in there, with, what was his name? Richard Chamberlain. That was good. This is a level above it. So highly recommend. But we did just finish watching that, and highly recommend. I also wanted to mention, you know, I'm kind of hit or miss with regard to watching Flosstubes lately. mostly because I'm trying to, you know, get this model stitch that I'm working on. And if I'm watching Flosstube, I'm busy looking at the screen to see what you're showing me. So because of that, I haven't been watching a whole ton of Flosstube. I've watched a little bit here and there, but for the most part, I've not been watching Flosstube. But I did watch something that I just wanted to mention in case, you know, maybe you're unaware of it. But on Facebook, in the Our Sampler Years Facebook group, Krista Gramer, who her design company is called Just Stitching Along, and she has some beautiful samplers, and she's releasing several new ones this September. But she, on Monday night, she does what she calls Mondays with Mary, and she's typically working on a sampler named Mary of some sort. But she basically does like a Stitch with Me live, and you know, you can watch, you can stitch along, you can comment, etc. And I've never watched one of these before, but for whatever reason, I decided to watch one this week, and I watched this week's. I didn't watch it live, I watched the replay, but I watched that, and it was very relaxing. It was very nice, and because she was stitching on a Quaker sampler, a really beautiful Quaker sampler, but because she was stitching, and you know, the focus was just on her stitching, as it is with a Stitch With Me video, she was just talking. And so it was sort of, you know, like listening to an audiobook or something. So I was just primarily focused on what she was saying and what she was talking about. Every so often I'd look up, but for the most part, I was just able to listen. And so it was a really, really nice, relaxing time that I had with it. I want to say that the video was 45-ish minutes or something. She said she usually tries to keep them to around an hour. So, well worth it. So if you are on Facebook and in that group, I highly recommend checking that out. Like I said, you know, I didn't watch it live because I don't typically have the time to do that on Monday nights, but I just watched the replay, and it was very nice, and it was nice to just stitch to it. So highly recommend. Okay, let's get into the stitching. So because I have so very little to show you in the way of what I've been working on, I thought tonight that I would, since it is Sampler September, I thought I might do a sampler whip parade, because some of these haven't seen the light of day in a very long time. So I thought, why not? Let's just drag the bucket out and we'll go through it, and I will be as surprised as you are by what's in the bucket. So yeah, so I thought that's what we do, and then I will talk a little bit about books and what I've been reading. So let's get into it. And I'm going to move this over a little bit. So for my birthday, I did have a birthday start. I say birthday start, but don't get too excited. So my friend Christine, who is Tante Teeny Stitches on Instagram, she and I share a birthday. And so she asked me if I wanted to start this sampler with her. Both of us started on our birthday, and I couldn't say yes fast enough. So very excited about this. And she knew that this sampler was, like, the second that it came out, I was just gasping. It was so beautiful. So this is Little Robin Designs. This is Grayscale 1838. And I believe this came out at Market in the spring, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm just absolutely in love with it. So in love with it. Especially these griffins. They're fantastic. And it's just such a beautiful sampler. I can't get over these big old cats at the bottom. It's so pretty. I mean, these remind me a little bit of Charlotte Clayton, but these griffins, as soon as I saw those griffins, I was like, Robin, what are you doing to me? Now I have to stitch this. It's a beautiful chart and easy to read, I think. And I just, pushed the easy button and I just ordered the called for fabric and threads off 123 Stitch and then went and picked it up. So yeah. And the chart. I was just like, give me all of that. So yeah, so we started this on our birthday. So I took a break from my model stitching to start this, and then I went right back to model stitching. And so the colors for this are absolutely beautiful. It's a combination of Weeks, Gentle Arts, and Classic Colorworks. And there's a couple of colors that do call for 2 skeins. But look at that red. That is Ruby Slippers. And this one is Cherry Cobbler. Look how pretty. They're just really stunning. So, and this is one of my little thread keeps from Becky, Socks for Mom, with her little embroidery lady, which I thought was appropriate for this. So yeah, so I got the threads, and then I got 40 count Caramel Macchiato by Fiber on a Whim, which is what it calls for. And are you ready for my start? There you go. That's what I got done. I started in the top center of the border. I don't know why. I normally start top left, but I guess I was feeling contrary, and yeah, so that's my start. But the fabric is beautiful, the threads are beautiful, and I think, honestly, it was just a situation of, I'm so ensconced in this model that I'm trying to stitch that the whole time I was trying to work on this, I was distracted. So I'm looking forward to getting back to this when I can enjoy it. But I'm happy that Christine and I started it together. Carol Saltbox Stitcher messaged me and asked if she could start it too, or said she was going to start it too. And I said, yes, please, the more the merrier. And then she, messaged me back and said, so I did start it, but I think I want to do it with the Vicki Clayton silks. So it's on pause until she gets her silks, but which she may have already, but I'm excited about that. And so at some point in the future, we will stitch that together. So yes. Okay. So then, of course, the only other thing that I have been working on is the model for the antique sampler that I'm reproducing, which at this point, I'm just gonna say I'm doing the best that I can to get it done as quickly as possible, but at the time that I started this, I could not have foreseen the events that were going to take place in my life, namely changing jobs and my cat being diagnosed with diabetes and other things that have been going on. So I'm doing the best that I can. And I'm trying to just give myself a little bit of grace and just say, it'll be done when it's done. But I am enjoying it. And I do hope to get it out sooner rather than later. We'll see how that goes. But I am stitching this on 40 count Bee's Knees Seraphim by Seraphim, and I'm stitching it with NPI silks. I did chart it in DMC, and then Olivia B from Hillside Rookery did a conversion for me to NPI silks. So that's what I'm stitching with, and I'm really loving how it's looking on this fabric. I do have it in the Q-snap. I'm not going to take it out of the Q-snap because, yeah. But, so I think you've seen this before. This is new. This border goes around the verse, which I have not yet stitched. You've pretty much seen all of this. Okay, sorry, I'm back. You've pretty much seen all of this. You may have seen this. I did bring the border all the way around, so my border met up on the first try, thank goodness. And I've been working over here on this side, which is almost a mirror of the other side. You can see that the berry bowl is different. But again, the squirrel and the lemon tree. And unfortunately, what I realized a couple nights ago when I was working on the lemon tree is that I had done all the leaves in this berry bowl in the wrong green. So I had to rip that back out and restitch that. And then as I was stitching this butterfly and this little motif and the two hearts here, I realized I had used the wrong brown on the other side, which is why I'm back over here. And I ripped out the brown here and around the two hearts, and I'm restitching it in the correct brown. But this is what happens when you're tired and you're rushing. You make mistakes. So I'm fixing those mistakes. But I do have a bit to go here. It is what it is, but I love it. I love the colors. They are so beautiful and fall, and that's what we're doing. So that is what has been taking up every bit of my spare time, and some time that I did not have to spare. So okay, so now we're going to look, that's it. That's all that I've worked on since I saw you last. So now we're going to look at my sampler whips. So, because why not? It's Sampler September. Basically the way that I store my whips is they're all pretty much in project bags. And I have two very large, plastic storage containers. And one of them has samplers in it and the other one has not samplers in it. And so I brought my, hopefully, samplers bucket with me. But I don't have any idea what's in here. So, like I said, it will be a surprise to both of us. So let's get into it, shall we? And I'll just, we'll just wing it and see what we got going on. So the first piece that I have, I'm going to start with the things that are in my whip basket that are not actually in the bucket. So these are things that I have worked on relatively recently or intended to work on relatively recently. So the first one is Shores of Hawk Run Hollow, and you may recall that I was working on this on Friday nights with some friends. We would get on Zoom and work on Shores, and they were doing assignments. I was not, but they've now not only caught up to me, but they have surpassed me. Whatever. I am looking forward to getting back to this as soon as I'm done with Henrietta. So when I picked this up with them, I had finished these 2 blocks, so I had started on the 3rd block. And so the 3rd block is what I'm up to and close to being finished with. And I'm stitching this on, they called for 36 count vintage autumn gold by Lakeside. And part of the reason for that is because I bought this and started it back in like 2009. So, and I'm using the called for MPIs. So I'm not, again, gonna take this out of the Q-snap, but you can see here's my, almost all of my block 1, block 2, and I'm working on block 3. So block 3 is complete except for the grass that goes right here underneath the house, and then all of the water fill in. Everything else on the block is done. So I just have to do all that fill in, which will be super easy to do once I get back to this. So I had basically just been working this on Friday nights. You know, that was the only time I picked it up, and that was working perfectly because I was getting some, you know, progress on it, but I wasn't getting burned out on it or anything. So, and I am drinking the ginger beer, and this is absolutely, if you love ginger beer, and this is super gingery, extra gingery. It's really good, really good. So next up is His Eyes on a Sparrow. And I had been working on this on Sunday nights with Olivia from Pumpkin Hollow Quilts. She started hers as her leap day start, and I told her, you know, if you want to start this, I will pick mine up and work on it with you. And so that's what we have been doing, except for the past couple of weeks where I've been so focused on Henrietta that I can't even do anything. So here's where I'm at. Just ignore the chart that's here. I think since you saw it last, I have done this little sheep, maybe, whatever that is. I brought this line over. This is where the verse goes. I've stitched this guy and I stitched this fox. And I think that might be it. So maybe I finished this, but I think I just got these 2 guys done since I saw you last. So I'm basically at the point where I can start the tree and Adam and Eve. So I'm sort of in the center of the bottom section of the whole top section done. But, you know, Olivia did her house red like mine, but she did her doors black, or not black, but I think she used that Fisherman's Wharf. And now I want to go back and redo my doors because I did mine gold. So I'm gonna have to think about that because hers look really good. So, all right. This is a Tula Pink bag that I made for myself. My friend gave me this little M charm, so I put that on the zipper pull. So this is an empty sleeve. What are we even doing here? Don't know. This is At Home by With Thy Needle and Thread, Brenda Gervais. And I started this on the spring equinox as, you know, part of my new year. And I worked on it a little bit, but it's been several months since I worked on this. And I'm using the called for colors, which are so pretty. And they're a combination of Crescent colors or Classic Colorworks and Gentle Arts, Weeks, and some DMC. And they're just so pretty. So pretty. And I'm using the called for 40 count vintage country mocha, or country mocha, I guess we're calling it. So, like I said, I don't have a ton done, but I did outline the whole border. And then I did a couple of these little flowers in the border. And that's it. That's as far as I got. But I am anxious to get back to this because the reason that I started this and the reason that I wanted to start it for the spring equinox, which was my New Year's start, is because my word of the year for 2024 is home. So I really hope I can get back to this at some point this year. And then you may recall, this is my oldest whip. And I had gotten this out and I've been working on doing one length of thread every day because it's over one on like 32 count or some craziness. And so this is Dorothy's Garden by A Stitcher's Hands. And it's really beautiful, but wow, there's a lot of stitching in this. And because it's over one, this designer, primarily all of her models were stitched over one, and she used, I don't think she's still designing, which is why I'm going to use the past tense, but she used to be local to me, and so the models of her pieces were hanging up in my LNS before they closed. So I saw these in person and I was like, I gotta do that over one because it's amazing. But yeah. So this has been a whip since 2004. And here's where I'm at. So it's not a huge piece, it's just intense because it's all over one. But look at this butterfly. Just amazing. So when I picked this up and started working on doing one length of thread a day, I was working on the house. And so all of this gray that's in here, I've pretty much done all of that. So this is another one that I'm anxious to get back to because I'm taking a cue from Amy Gable Stitcher, and I want this to be done before it reaches drinking age, which will be next year. So I need it done. This is my memorial sampler for my mom. And I started this last year for her birthday. Oh, I just have a, yeah, wow. This is Janet Reed by Chessie and Me, and it's really pretty, really beautiful. And it calls for Gentle Arts Simply Wool threads, which is what I'm using. And so you can kind of see they have a little bit of texture to them. They're so pretty and they're so fun to stitch with. You do have to go to like 32 or 28 count because they are a little thicker, but they're really beautiful to work with. And I just got these at 1-2-3 Stitch, so yeah. And this is a thread keep from Robin of Little Robin, back when she used to make thread keeps. I just love this. So, and I am stitching this on I think it's Cookie Dough by Needle Bling, maybe. I think it's 32 count, if I'm not mistaken. And so I started this in December, and it was kind of like the perfect winter piece with the wools and with the cookie dough linen. So here's where I'm at. So I basically have the whole top half done. I've put in some family initials here, and then I'm just about ready to start with the motifs at the bottom. So I do intend to get this back out this winter because I would like to have this done before my mom's birthday this year. So, but I'm going to be personalizing that with her name. And like I said, I put some family initials in there. And yeah. So, and then this one, I have not worked on this in a long time. And I don't even think I have a picture in here. Let's see. So this is the 3 Things sampler by Moira Blackburn. And I started this as a stitch along with Emily C and Tracy P, who is now Tracy V. Back when Tracy used to stitch and do Flosstube and all that fun stuff. And yeah, all I have is my working copy stuff in here. So I started this with the 2 of them. Emily, of course, has long since finished hers, and it's been hanging up in her new house since it was a new house. I got a little waylaid on mine because I was changing the majority of the colors because so was Emily, but she's better at that than I am. But she's better at doing it on the fly, I'll say it that way. So the original sampler, the colors on it to me look a little dated. They're a little, soft, kind of some peaches and lavenders and, light blues, etc., which isn't really my thing. And so I am basically taking it in more of a like jewel toned, more saturated colors direction. And so I was, you know, working on switching out all of my colors, and it just got to be a little too complicated. So I ended up just recharting the whole thing in my colors and making all the decisions of where everything goes, which is why I have like this ginormous thing here. So here's where this is at. And like I said, I haven't worked on this. I couldn't tell you the last time I worked on this. But that's where I'm at. And you can see I couldn't decide what color I wanted this flower to be, these two flowers to be, so I just left them. But I really love it. And I think that I am stitching this on 36 count Vintage Light Exemplar by Lakeside. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what this is. And I'm using a combination of DMC and overdyed threads. The whole thing is charted in DMC, but then I wanted a little bit of variegation in my colors. So I pulled a couple of overdyes. Yeah, so, and I am doing this 2/2 because I tried it 1/2 and I really did not like the coverage. So 2/2, so it's even more saturated. And I love this. I keep wanting to get back to it. That just hasn't happened. And this is my beautiful Alice in Wonderland bag that I got from Christine from Stitch All the Things. Isn't that fun? Okay, so those are the things that were in my whip basket. So now everything else is in this giant bucket. So let's see what's in here. And fair warning, there may be some other things that are just like jammed in here that aren't whips or samplers at all. In fact, this is not even in a bag. I don't know where the bag is with all of my threads in my chart. But this is Dutch Beauty. My version of Dutch Beauty, anyway, that I call Dark Beauty. And that's where I'm at. So I think it's been a year since I worked on this. I was working on it last September for the Back to School sale, and I was working on this big motif. And I did get this little iris vase done, but then I was working on the big tulips, and I did not get those done. But yeah, so Dutch Beauty, changing all the colors, making it dark and gothic. We love that. Okay. This is not gonna come out of here. This is Birds of a Feather Happy Heart sampler. And I just keep it in the bag that it was given to me so that it doesn't get jacked up. So I started stitching this for Eric for Valentine's Day 1 year, because I used to try to stitch something for him every Valentine's Day, and those hang in our bedroom. But this one I got a little waylaid on, and I'm stitching this on Lakeside 40 count sand dune with, I think, the called for colors, which I think are all weeks. So here's where I'm at. I don't have all that done. I thought I had more done than this. That's really sad. So I have this crazy flower done, and then I have 2 rows of alphabet, and that's it. I really thought I had more done. Okay, well, anyway. I love this. I really want to get back to it and get it done because I would like to have that hanging in our bedroom. Okay, this is, I don't even know that we can, this isn't really a sampler whip, and actually it's not even really a whip, but whatever. So this is from when Paulette came to teach a workshop for the Tutorist Sampler Guild, and she designed Adam Names the Animals for us. And I don't even have this in a bag because I think I stole the bag to put Henrietta in. All I have is this pomegranate. That's it. That's all I've stitched. But we have the little deal here. And this deal. And these, and this, and I guess that's just the thing bigger. I love this, but yeah, obviously it has not come back to the surface. And I'm going to regret the fact that I'm just piling all these on the floor. Let's see what's in here. This is a vintage Owl Lady bag with the Luna moths on it that I love. Okay. This appears to be Tombstone Spots by the Primitive Needle, which is another piece that I started as a stitch along with Emily. And I'm using the called for weeks, which are all in these sort of mossy greens and this beautiful curry color. And I'm using 40 count Affogato by Fiber on a Whim. And this is where I'm at. And I loved this because it had this sort of mossy green color in the fabric, which I thought was perfect for Tombstone Spots. So that's where I'm at. I would love to get this one finished during Dark October, which is fast approaching, which is why I need to hurry and get this sampler finished, because I have other things I need to be doing. So that is Tombstone Spots. Oh, this is, here's Dutch Beauty. Here's all the stuff for Dutch Beauty. So there's the chart. So I've basically done this right here and this. There's a lot more to go. And these are some of my colors. So, all right. When I put these away, I'll have to put that back in there. Okay, I kitted this up, did not start it because I got sidetracked by other things. This is the Mermaid Sampler by Carriage House, which I just absolutely love. And I thought, ooh, this is gonna be a small little piece. It fits on, you know, little piece. And I was just gonna put it on Vintage Country Mocha. And, you know, I bought this at the same time I bought my fabric for Rebecca Nurse. So, and I've pulled the DMC for it. I think I'm still maybe missing a couple, like I think I'm missing the blues. But at some point I will start this. This is, I started this with, this is in my Tulip Pink book sleeve. I started this with Amy Gable Stitcher in November of last year, I believe. And this is another Little Robin Designs, The Birdman Cometh, which is a wacky sampler, but I love it. And so here's where I'm at. It took me forever to get that sky done, but then I did get one of the little birdmen done. So, and I'm stitching this on 40 count Aztec Red by Weeks, which is what it calls for, and the called for threads. So hopefully Amy and I can get back to that at some point. Okay, so this is Frances Eden by Handwork Sampler. And I am stitching this on .40 count Vintage Exemplar by Lakeside. And I'm stitching it with the Vicky Clayton silks, which you can't really see, but there they are. And this is another one that I love it so much, and I would really love to work on it. So that's where I'm at. So I started kind of in the center, and I basically have Adam and Eve and their tree done, and I'm in love with the black and white checkerboard snake. And these weird things here that I think have wings on them maybe, but they make me think of Tracker Jackers. If you know, you know. So, Frances Eden. here's a blast from the past. This is Birds of a Feather by With Thy Needle and Thread. And this was originally done as a 3-part like mystery sampler back in the day. And I am stitching this on Weeks Gray 40 count. And I'm using the called for colors. But I was struggling with this because some of my colors weren't really showing up. So that's all that I have done. I think it'll be beautiful in this fabric. I just need to suck it up and keep going. So, and this is, I have to show you this. So this is, if you're an old school, you know, stitching blogger person, you may remember when everybody was making these tags. Back in 2008, apparently. So, my friend Carol from, I think her blog was Garden of Stitches, made this for me for my birthday. And I think it's a praiseworthy stitches piece. And I just love it. It's so, so sweet. So, like I said, blast from the past. When did this come out? When did I start this? No idea. Okay. Here's some finishing that I did that is in here for some reason. And some charts that I guess I just stuck in here. All right, this is La Marquois de Justine, otherwise known as Justine Sampler. And I believe that you can still get this directly from Anne Pelletier, butchering that name, the woman that originally charted it. That is my understanding from GGR, is that you can still get this from Anne. So, yep. So she's a beautiful, beautiful sampler. I'm stitching her on some hand-dyed linen that I think then was over-dyed, and so I sort of did my own silk conversion too. So I've got some Verissois, I've got some Gloriana, excuse me, and some Karen collection. So this is where I'm at. And I think the last time that I worked on her was when Notre Dame, when there was that fire at Notre Dame. So that's been a while. And I do keep my special my Eiffel Tower Saju scissors in here that I bought at the Saju store in Paris. So this is another one that I would love to have finished because there is a sampler that I want to stitch as a companion. Actually, there's two other pieces that I want to stitch as companions to her. So I need to get on it. This is Our Lasting Friendship by Blackbird Designs. And I'm stitching this on 40 Count Legacy by Picture This Plus. But I did adjust some of the colors because when I got the colors, it was just very like brown and green, which I was like, no. So I added some pinks in there and I think this darker brown maybe. This is not high on my list. So yeah. In fact, this is one of those that is in timeout for maybe forever. But, which is why it's no longer in a project bag even, it's just in a Ziploc. Oh, there's a picture of the whole sampler. Yeah. All right. Okay, well, I bought this last year, I think, and this is not a sampler. I've not started it, but since it's in this box, I will show it to you. So I saw Christine Hollis Hands Create stitch this, and this is another one. As soon as she showed it on the screen, like the first time I watched her videos a million years ago, I gasped. I was like, I have to stitch this. It's so beautiful. This is by the Primitive Hair. It's called the Old Winter. And I did get the winter or the White Flakes 30 count linen that's printed with the snowflakes on it, which is what it calls for. So this is obviously a perfect winter project. Maybe for this winter after I finish my mom's sampler. Random wool for finishing. Some Vicky Clayton silks for something I'm not going to stitch. This is and I don't know if I have a photo of this even in here, because I feel like my chart is in a notebook But this was a class that I took with Catherine Theron forever ago, probably like 2009-ish. And that's all that I have done. But you can't tell, but there's a whole lot of specialty stitches in this business. But this is her Peaceful Kingdom sampler, and it's so pretty. The colors are really pretty. I'd really like to stitch this and get it done. It's just other things have taken precedent, obviously. I think this is thread for another Catherine Theron piece that may be right here. Okay, this is the Americana sewing case, maybe, which I don't think I have a picture of. And then I also have the Quaker sewing case by Catherine Theron. That was a class that I took that I think also is not, oh, there it is. So we're just gonna, that's all I've stitched. Oh, and I have this Elizabethan casket etui from Betsy Morgan. I took that class, and I stitched the little thimble case, and I think this was practice for the Aztec stitch, and I think that's it. That's all I got done. This was a piece from when I went to the attic. I wonder where the rest of it is. This is just getting crazier and crazier. Oh, here's some, so I'll show it to you in two parts. This is Peaceable Kingdom. This is the top of it. And this is the bottom of it. But look at that little seam there. I mean, that would be cute to stitch just by itself. But there is a lot to this thing. All right. I have the biggest mess now. This is a chatelaine. This is Midi Mystery 2. And I've stitched the first one, which I think was medieval. I think this one might be Renaissance garden. I started this for my birthday like 8,000 years ago. This is overwhelming. There's a reason I do not do whip parades. Okay, this is a 2-for-1. in this bag. So this is the Little Red Chair sampler by the Scarlet House. I took this at summer school at the attic, and this is my little start. I think it's on 46 count. With Tudor silks. And Tanya made these little tags so that you had all your symbols right here, which is cute. Okay. And then this is the Lady Liberty sampler by Threads Through Time. And I think I started this one year during the election. And that's all I have done. And there are the threads. They're really pretty. So, I do not stitch a whole lot of patriotic stuff. This is probably the only patriotic whip that I have. I tend to stitch, you know, Halloween and Christmas and fall and samplers. Okay, this is Victorine Delacroix by the Assemblaire. And I am devastatingly in love with this. So in love with it. And it came as a kit. My friend Katrina and I ordered it one year. We both ordered the kits with the silks, like she was having a sale. So we ordered the silks. So we got the fabric, the silks, and the pattern. And I believe that these are a Veriswa. And here's where I'm at. I have some crazy hanging threads, so please excuse, but that's where I'm at. It's so pretty. Just really pretty. So one of these days, I'll get back to that. And this is a Momely bag that Emily made for me with these pretty fans. And this is Mary Pearson by Heartstring Samplery. She reproduced this and came and taught at the Tudor Rose Sampler Guild. And I just thought it was such an interesting sampler. So, and it's in DMC. I do not recall what this fabric is, but I think it's 40 count. And I started in the center. Because I really wanted to stitch Adam and Eve. And a needle minder that Emily gave me. That's of a tiled mosaic floor. And these are the DMCs. So I would love to get back to this one. This is Village of Hawk Run Hollow by Carriage House Samplings. And I started this 2009 or something, maybe. Oh, what am I stuck on? So here's where I'm at. And I'm stitching this with the DMC on 36 count vintage light exemplar maybe. And I'm not sure about it. I started it on this because I had the fabric. 36 count is not my favorite. So I have not decided what I'm gonna do with that, but I figured I would focus on shores and then figure it out. Okay, this is heavy. Why is this so heavy? Probably because it's got 12 things in it. Yep. Well, at least 2. 3. Okay, so this is, I've been dreaming about this piece. I don't know why, but I've been dreaming about it. This is Paradise Lost by Plum Street Samplers. Like, this piece just keeps getting into my head. This is all I have stitched on it. And this is another piece of 36 count Lakeside. So I don't know. But I think I got the silks to stitch this with, so maybe that'll make it better. I don't know. This is a piece that I started around the same time as I started Shores. This is Adam and Eve by Carriage House. And I got it into my head that I was gonna stitch it over one on black. I don't think I'm gonna continue with this. I think I'm going to restart it over 2, but that's where I'm at. So it's a lot of work, but I'm just not loving it. So, and I was doing this with the MPIs as well. So what else is in here? another piece I need to restart. So obviously this is my bag of things I might need to restart. So there's a sampler that's in, a Scottish sampler that's in one of the needle print books that's absolutely beautiful, that I started, and I started it on, I'm looking to see if there's a picture of the whole thing. I started it on, there's not, the called for fabric, which was lamb's wool, 35 count lamb's wool, permanent lamb's wool, and it calls for DMC. And I absolutely 100% hate this. I mean, like, I can't even stand to touch this. So there's my start. There's a little tiny bit there, but that's basically my start. And it's a huge sampler, so I'm not stitching it on that. I will get another piece of fabric and restart it, but no thank you. You know, but at the time I didn't know any better, and it said to use lamb's wool, so I bought lamb's wool. Whatever. All right. This is was a sampler that Amy Mitten designed for the Tudor Rose Sampler Guild, and it was presented as a mystery sampler, and she like told us this story throughout the day that was a murder mystery, and revealed parts of the sampler as we went. So this is called 10. It was for our 10th anniversary, and I really love it. Of course, it's an Adam and Eve, which I love. And I do not have that much done, but I did over dye my fabric a little bit. I sort of tea dyed it. And it looks a little splotchy, but I'm hoping that that'll kind of even out when it's stitched. But there are so many specialty stitches in this thing, it's ridiculous. So that little bit took a lot of work. But this is the Snooty Parrot Sampler by Barbara Anna. Sorry, no color photo. And this is my sampler that Jean from the attic talked me into. I was not going to stitch this, and then, you know, everybody was doing a sal for it, so I was like, okay, fine. So I called the attic and I talked to Jean and I said, I really want to stitch this on like 45, 46 count. And she said, well, you know, in what it's called for, which I have no idea what is called for. I could maybe look right here where it says it. Vintage Exemplar by Lakeside. She said, well, I don't have any in 46 count, 45 count. How about 50 count? And I'm like, all right, 45, 50, whatever. And then she's like, well, actually, what about this 5260 count that I have? And you could stitch it in the Tudor silks and it would be really cute and small. And I was like, great, sign me up. Because clearly I'm a masochist. So yeah, so I'm stitching this on 5260 linen, which means it's 52 threads in one direction and 60 in the other. And that's where I'm at. Which is not far, but I mean, you know, it's not going to be super big because it's on this crazy ass small linen. But what I will say to you is, having stitched an entire Bristol sampler on 56 count, the 56 count that is even is 1000% easier to stitch on than this. This is really a challenge to stitch on, I think. The 56 count is a walk in the park. You just need good lighting. Did I tell you I had Tudor silks for that? Yeah. All right. This was my Thanksgiving Day start a couple of years ago with Christy from Cross Hatch Quilts and Christine from Hollis Hands Create. This is Hannah Tingy by the Scarlet House. And I loved it because it's like, it's sort of half fall, half Christmas. And so it was the perfect thing to start on Thanksgiving Day. It's such a pretty sampler. And I did get it out last year and worked on it a little bit, not much, but a little bit. And the colors are so pretty. I am using the MPIs. And I'm stitching it on the called for, I think it's vintage buttercream maybe, that Christy gifted me. And this is where I'm at. I just love it so much. I think it's so pretty. So pretty. So this is another one I'd love to work on. November, December. If I can. I gotta turn this the other way. We're almost there. I think this is the last one. And this is a bag that I made with instructions from my friend Mary. And I even bought this little macaron charm to put on it that I think is from Sucra Miniatures. All right. Anton Ufendel. And I'm stitching her in the DMC. And I am stitching her on Light Hazelnut by XJU Designs 40 count. And it is a ginormous piece of fabric. So here's where I'm at. Mm. She's so pretty. I really want to get back to her. This was, I did a birthday sale for her a few years ago. Maybe in 2020, possibly. So, that's it, the bucket's empty. So, as far as you know, as far as I know, those are all of my sampler whips. There were a few in here that were not really samplers, but we're not gonna mince words. So, okay, I'm exhausted. I'm gonna take a second. I'm gonna try to clear some of this away, and then I'm gonna talk about books if anybody's still here. So, give me a moment. Okay, I'm back. So, we are going to talk about books now. I'm going to try to be quick. So, last time I was working on a book for the Sampler Guild of the Rockies book club. We were reading The Museum of Lost Quilts by Jennifer Chiaverini. This is part of the Elm Creek Quilts books series. But if you haven't read them, you could totally read them. I mean, as a standalone, it's not a big deal. This was enjoyable, well worth a read. It really made me want to quilt again badly, especially because this stack of yellow and white quilts here, like I need all of that immediately. So I read that, and then I read something total opposite end of the spectrum. I read A Lady of Rooksgrave Manor by Catherine Moon, and there's 3 books in this series so far. This is the first one. The second one is called The Company of Fiends, and I also read it. They're basically fantasy, romance, quite spicy. I needed something mind rot, basically. Then I was watching a vlog, and someone recommended a book that has been on my TBR for forever, but she was talking about that it was just like the perfect sort of cozy fantasy. And I was like, that's it. That's what I want, cozy fantasy. And so I finally read Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was so good. Just light, enjoyable, really good. I'm going to read the second book. I just haven't gotten around to it yet, but I thought this was really good. So if you want just a cozy fantasy read about an orc that starts a coffee shop, that's the book. And then Kristen from Vullenvine posted on Instagram and said that she had just read this fantasy duology and couldn't put it down. So I immediately went out to try to get on the wait list at the library for it. And the first book finally came up. And so I read One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. Oh my gosh, this was so good. So good. Highly, highly recommend. I cannot wait to read the second book. So if you've read this, let's talk about it because it's so good. And I cannot wait to read the second one. And then I read the next book for my next SGR book club. selection, and this one was called The Tiffany Girls by Shelley Noble. And this is about the women that worked in Louis Comfort Tiffany's studio, creating his stained glass pieces. This was really good. Like, I wasn't sure what to expect, but it was very, very good. Being, an art historian, having a degree in art history, I loved this. I thought it was great. And it made me want to own lots of Tiffany lamps and stained glass windows. But it's wonderful. The specific piece that's kind of at the center of this is called the Four Seasons windows. There is an older piece also called the Four Seasons, which I believe is in the Metropolitan Museum. But this book talks about like 4 separate panels called the Four Seasons, and you can kind of see what they've done is they've taken one of the windows themselves and used it on the book cover, and then just pulled out the center portion of it. And so they have this this kind of frame around them. But what was super disappointing to me is, they're talking about these pieces. So of course I went out looking to see what they look like, because they are actual pieces that they're talking about. And they had described that there were, these 4 panels, one for each season, but then there was a top portion and a bottom portion, and I think 2 side pieces as well, that that at some point, hung together. But apparently when they came back from the exhibition in 1900 in Paris, they were hung at Tiffany's home, and the 4 seasonal windows were hung in one room and the other pieces were hung in a different room. But I cannot find any photo of the whole thing assembled together. And unfortunately there was a fire at the home, and so I don't know if the other pieces survived, but the 4 seasonal windows themselves have survived, and they are in a museum, fortunately. But I was disappointed that I couldn't see kind of the whole ensemble together, but really, really good. So highly recommend that. And then I needed, again, something lighthearted. And I had been on the wait list for this at the library since it came out, because I love Tessa Bailey's books, her romance books. And I had recently read Fangirl Down, and then this is the next book in that same series, and this is called The Au Pair Affair, and this was really good. I think I read it in 3 days. I couldn't put it down. I really enjoyed this. I love all her books, so I'm glad that I read that. And then the other thing, so, I mentioned that I've been working so much on Henrietta and trying to get her done. And so I decided to start listening to an audiobook, but I wanted something that I've listened to before, that I'm familiar enough with, that, it's not going to take too much concentration. So that same vlogger that I was watching had mentioned that she was listening to the Lord of the Rings audiobook, and I was like, perfect. So I just started listening to The Hobbit, and that has been super enjoyable. And, I'm familiar enough with it, but it's, keeping my attention, and it is easier for me to stitch and concentrate on what I'm doing, just listening rather than trying to watch Flosstube or something like that. And so I've got that going, and I think I'm up to chapter 13 or 14 on that. And then the book that I am currently reading is the book for my book club, and we are meeting next Thursday to discuss this book. So if you have not yet gone in and signed up and put in your RSVP, make sure that you do that, or you will not get the Zoom link for the discussion. You can go to Mistress of the House of Books. I will put a link down below. And you do have to be a member on the site, but once you're a member on the site, you just need to RSVP to the event that you're going. It's free. You just have to read the book, or don't. You know, you can just come and discuss. You don't have to read the book, but we're going to be discussing the book. So, and this time, the book that we're reading is A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle Jensen. And I have started this. You can probably see where I am. And I'm really enjoying it so far. I can't wait to read some more. Reading has been kind of slow going. So I'm hoping to get some more into this and get it finished up in time for book club. So yeah, so that's what I'm reading currently. So that's everything. And I think we're, at like an hour and 45 minutes or something. Crazy. But happy Sampler September. So I think that's it for me. But if you want to drop me let's see, drop a little book in the comments, and if you stayed here until the very end. So yeah, just drop a little emoji of a book. Let me know you were here till the end, the bitter end. So, all right. Yeah, that's it. So hopefully I will have Henrietta, the model, finished, and we can, I can get her framed. The frame actually arrived today. Hopefully I can get her framed and released in the not too distant future. And then of course, Dark October stitching is coming, and I'm very much looking forward to that. So I really need to get the sampler done so that I can enjoy my Dark October stitching. Emily and I are planning on doing our Dark October seance again at the end of the month, the end of October, where we have a Zoom stitching event. So we will probably open up signups for that around the 13th of October. So look for that. And yeah, I think that's it. So happy stitching, and thanks so much for checking in with me. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate all of your comments, even though I'm very slow to respond to them. And yeah, happy Sampler September. Bye.